Hey, this is Trey from Rifft, and you're listening to Discography Discussion. Is that good?
That was awesome. Yeah, no, it was awesome, man. It's what we want.
I got this beautiful mug right over here in the corner.
You can just look at yourself.
And look at these great mugs right here.
Yeah, I definitely have a face for podcasting.
Face, body, voice.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I was actually hoping you guys were going to do video because I was like, I've never ever seen you guys, obviously.
Yeah, I was going to say video is our preference, but some people have really bad internet connections. It's hard to do video with them. To me.
Y'all already drinking? Oh, no, that's cold brew.
Oh, no, it's coffee stout.
It's coffee stout.
Oh, it's coffee stout. Okay.
So I'm drinking 1 minute before I'm supposed to be, but whatever.
You got to kick it off. Yeah, you got to kick it off here right on a Sunday here, partner.
Absolutely.
I'm waiting to come down from my caffeine buzz before I start drinking. Or then if I start getting a beer buzz while I'm still jacked on caffeine, I start like seeing into the future and shit.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, that's the whole point of this.
Right, that's why we do it.
I'm 17 days ahead of myself.
There you go, man.
So that guy that was like, the world's going to end? Yeah, he's wrong. How do you know? Coffee stout.
I'm glad those guys are still around, man. I mean, it's been a long time since we've had a world-ending dude, you know?
Yeah, I know, right? It's kind of like in Ghostbusters 2, where he's like, are you sure this is when? I mean, your book's only going to have been out a month. You know, you can like go back and redo your business strategy, dude.
Ghostbusters 2.
Gotta love it.
Yeah.
All right, so we are talking about. So we've been debating about this because there's a lot of band names that I've never said out loud before, and I always just said Kyuss.
Right.
But I heard somebody calling them like Kyuss, but I was like, no, that's too much like Kiss. It's got to be Kyuss.
I have never heard anybody pronounce it differently. Of course, I never knew that Josh Homme was pronounced Homie until just like a couple of years ago. Either.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, I don't know. It's not like I hang out with them, you know?
Sure.
So whatever. I mean, no, I'm pretty sure it's Kyuss. I'm sure we can find video or somewhere on YouTube of somebody in the band saying
them referring to themselves as Kyuss. Yeah.
I've been saying Kyuss all week, and even if I tried right now, I couldn't change that. So I'm going to stick with Kyuss.
I mean, if somebody was just like Kyuss, I'm just like, what like the car?
Is that a Kyuss? Yeah. It's
what are you talking about?
Can I buy an electric Kyuss or a hybrid Kyuss?
No, it doesn't matter.
Well,
we tend to start and then keep rolling.
This is how we do it.
All right, dude up. I'm ready to go.
All right. We'll just roll the theme music here that we love so much because, still Pluto, right?
Yeah. Public domain, baby.
And if you actually care that Han shot first, then you are ready for this episode of Discography Discussion. I am Joe. That is Dan.
What up?
That is Trey Suiter from Rifft.
Hello.
What's going on, Trey?
I am hanging out in beautiful Nashville, Tennessee. The weather is delicious. The rock and roll is always amazing, and I'm talking to you goons about some Kyuss today.
Oh, yeah. We were just in Nashville a few weeks ago.
What for? Comic-Con?
We were at the Rockin' Pod Expo.
Okay, killer.
It was in Nashville, yeah. It was a ton of fun. I bought some Sweet Slayer records there for massive discounts.
Okay, cool.
Podcasters discount.
Stocked up on my Alice Cooper because, Alice Cooper.
Not a bit. Never a bad thing. Never a bad thing.
So, this week, we're going to be talking about Kyuss, which is a lot of fun because this is our first, really our first true, I would call maybe a stoner rock / metal band that we've talked about. We're usually on the super brutal side of things, but the thing about Kyuss is they are super brutal in their own way.
I have to agree, especially, I mean, as far as when they first came out, there wasn't really anything like that was that just like sonically bass heavy.
Oh my God, I know the bass. Bass is thunderous.
You're like, what is this? You know, I mean, generally, like most metal records are very, like before then. I mean, the high end is just piercing. It is shredding you.
Right.
I was gonna ask, did the bass player write all this? Because it definitely sounds like it in places.
I mean, it's obviously there was obviously a talk where they're just like, listen, we are going bass. All right, cut all this high-end jack noise out. All right, we're moving the earth. All right, we're taking this into a whole another tectonic shifting plate warp zone, and they did it.
Yeah, absolutely, they did.
Well, before we get too deep into it, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you to everyone for listening and for subscribing. If you are not a subscriber, you can find everything Discography Discussion at discussmetal.com. We are on Google Play. We are on iTunes. We are on Stitcher. We are on TuneIn Radio. So if you have an Amazon Echo product, you can say to it, Alexa, play the latest episode of Discography Discussion, and she will. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter at Discuss Metal. Be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. It really helps us out and it lets us know you're listening. And Dan is going to tell you all about 5-star reviews.
Yeah, we love 5-star reviews. If you give us one, we will shout you out on the podcast. We will read probably your review. But let's be honest, even if you gave us a 1-star review, we probably would read that too, because that would be a lot of fun. So give us whatever kind of rating you think we deserve, but just keep in mind, if you like our podcast, the best thing you can do for us is give us a shout-out, give us a comment, give us a like, give us a review. That's really, that's our bread and butter. That's what keeps us going.
And now Trey is going to tell you all about Rifft.
I am. Every last bit of it. Every single detail.
You've got exactly 47 seconds.
Every last drop.
Every last drop. Okay. Rifft is a band that I'm in. I play guitar for. I also sing for as well. It was formed in 2015 when me and Cody McCall, who had been in the band previously in the late 90s, called 12 Volt Negative Earth. We had hung out at our original drummer's 40th birthday party, and we were just like, man, we're doing absolutely nothing, and the only thing we do is play music, so let's just start another band. And then all of a sudden, we started trading back some different demos. We ended up hollering at my buddy Jeremiah to play bass, hollered at my friend Jason to play drums, started practicing, and hey, what do you know, before we could believe it, here I am playing shows and releasing EPs again. The sound is definitely just like a very huge psychedelic crushing mess with a lot of vocal harmonies and things like that, a lot of clean vocals, which can be sometimes off-putting to most metalheads. But it's our thing. I figured, we wanted to do something original. People just being blast beating evil. I love that stuff. I am not going to out-evil the most evil stuff that's been made yet. It's not going to happen. But we can we kind of found our kind of like psychedelic doom edge, and we just kind of started working with it, and we just kind of do what we want.
You're making music that you like.
Yeah, and it's like, I got a job, I make money, I don't have to make nobody happy except myself. And
but still, everybody buy the EPs.
Yeah. Luckily, some other people dig it too, So I mean, we're stoked about it. We love it.
Well, I definitely did dig it, especially I like an EP that's a good 30 minutes long, and you guys did not disappoint me at all in that regard. And this is just my personal opinion, but if you guys like traditionally heavy music. Music that achieves its heaviness through real instrumentation versus, your breakdown, your blast beat, your devilish screams and shrieks. You're not really going to find that here. What you want is what you're getting is a band that is actually heavy, because they write heavy shit. They write heavy riffs and are not afraid to go outside of the box.
No,
that's my synopsis of Rifft.
Heavy like Kyuss.
At times.
Heavy like Kyuss, yes. Good lead-in.
So, Dan, real quick, the Dream Theater disaster. To be continued?
What about it? Yeah. Last week we did a Dream Theater episode with John Drake of the Talk To Me podcast, and only half of it ended up being used because our microphones shit the bed on us somewhere right in the middle of it. So, yeah, part 2's coming, guys, but you guys got this little morsel that we're recording for you today. You guys are going to get that first. So,
and by part 2, I don't mean Metal Gear Solid Subsistence. I mean, the complete episode.
Yeah, we're just going to cut it all together.
We're just going to do it again.
I like that. I'll make that Metal Gear reference there, partner.
Nice.
We're already best friends.
So Trey, tell me all about Kyuss.
All right, man. We're going to jump into what's probably the Kyuss is my favorite band. I remember the first time I ever heard them, I was just a young lad listening to Vanderbilt radio station one day, and I was just in my room kind of chilling, and I remember Rifft came on, one of the later tracks on Blues from the Red Sun, and I was just like, what in the hell is this? This is when I was kind of like, I was, obviously, I was a young kid, in the Metallica and Anthrax and all that stuff. Then all of a sudden, grunge starts coming in. You start getting into like new music. And when I heard that, I was just like, what is this? I've got to find it. And what's unfortunate is back in those days, it was really hard to find records.
That wasn't a major label release either, was it? I mean, it was. You couldn't just go to your local shop and pick it up.
Nope. I remember I looked for it and I could never find it at all, and it was upsetting. And it was kind of a while until I was able to get Kyuss CDs. It was until they got signed to Elektra when Sky Valley came out, and then finally you started seeing them pop up at record shops here and again. I mean, you could get Sky Valley, but it was still hard to find Blues for the Red Sun, and let alone even Wretched.
Yeah, Wretched is. Yeah.
No, forget about it.
I have a cassette of it actually, but that was a random thrift store find.
Is that next to your Nickelback cassette tapes there?
No, there's no Nickelback cassette tapes.
Brandon Kellum is a liar.
Yeah, I don't care what Toomey said on his show.
Nickelback was around when they were still releasing cassettes, were they?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think maybe the first Nickelback record might have been on cassette, but that's it. Yeah.
But you mentioned Metallica, and when I'm sitting down listening to Wretched for the first time, number one, I'm extremely satisfied to be listening to this band called Kyuss. Thank you for that. And the second thing was, I'm definitely hearing the James Hetfield in his voice.
Yeah, I hear the Danzig a lot too.
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of grunge. There's a lot of. I mean, it sounds like 1991, where nobody really knew what they were and they didn't care.
Exactly. People were a lot more into just like, hey, we're going to start a heavy band. There weren't subgenres upon subgenres yet. Everybody was just kind of like experimenting. And you'd go see a band, and I remember going to see shows and like everything, you go see something that was like, tuned down and heavy, but you couldn't sit there and place it. I couldn't say I was into doom metal back when I was in high school. No one really said that.
You just knew that you liked heavy music. Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy did.
Well, I had the internet when I was in high school.
Yeah, I had the predecessor to the internet when I was in high school, but not the full blown internet.
You had bulletin board systems.
I ran a bulletin board system.
Nice.
Is it still up? Can I go to it now?
No, you cannot.
Damn it.
I used to be able to find a bunch of artwork that was used on. There was like a repository for like old school like splash screens.
Nice.
When you logged into it. I remember discovering it one day. I was just like, wow, this is stupid.
That was cool. I remember downloading old DOS shareware games on bulletin board systems back in the day.
Shareware. Huh? That's right, shareware.
Yeah, usually it was full on piracy, but they would say that it was shareware, so that it would look completely legit. And back then the companies weren't searching bulletin board systems to see if people were stealing their shit.
But I ended up getting into a lot of music actually on those bulletin board systems too. I met a lot of people that I ended up making bands with, and dubbing CDs off of when I was a kid. I mean, that was the only thing. The main reason I even got into punk rock or the Melvins or anything like that was a buddy that I met on a bulletin board system. If I wouldn't have met him on a bulletin board system, I wouldn't be on this. I wouldn't be staring at your video faces.
Right.
Casey Carver.
So you'd be just working some shitty job and.
I'd be dead. I'd been in a meth explosion by now.
Fair enough. Yeah.
That's pretty much where it goes. I wouldn't have made it far.
Well, as Kyuss is putting it, it's Dan's favorite, by the way. Well, goddamn, son of a bitch.
Oh, baby. God damn. Oh, sorry, I blew you guys out there.
I feel like there should be a drinking game around this. Like, how many times you drink every time he says "son of a bitch"?
Or yeah, or something like that.
It's my favorite song.
John Garcia. Yeah. Wretched. It's the album you go back to because you want to hear the first songs. A bunch of the songs on there are actually re-recorded versions of the self-titled Sons of Kyuss album, which you can go back and listen to. And let me tell you, Dan, if you're not a fan of Wretched, well, let me tell you, Sons of Kyuss is really going to be right up your alley.
Awesome.
Something you got to remember about Kyuss, man, is how young they were.
Right.
Josh Homme was only 2 years older than me, and Wretched came out in 91. I was 15, so he was 17.
Wow.
He was not able to drink until Kyuss's last album.
Well, not officially.
But he was not legally able to drink until the circus leaves town. So it's like that's why when I listen to him, it's just like you hear the youth in it.
Absolutely.
It's just like it is a bunch of dudes who do not give a shit about anything except having a fun time with their friends, playing music. And if you do any research about the band, you can kind of see where their origins are from just like throwing parties and stuff like that. And I think it was a great way to end up just exploring. It kind of reminds me of like when I started making music. We didn't. None of us had any friends. None of us had girlfriends or anything. We just had we just go out to my buddy's house that had an 8-track recorder, and we just sit up all and just record or whatever we did, playing around with different effects. I learned how to make noises before I learned how to play a guitar.
Sure.
And that I always have that feeling when I listen to Kyuss. I still have this. I listen to him, and I still hear this like youthful playfulness, and like all of it really got set in motion by that early stuff. If you sit there and listen to it, a lot of it's really kind of like a little dated now, obviously due to the recording. Josh Homme's guitar sound is completely different from what it became. It's still got a lot of high end to it. It's got like that presence to it. You hear him hitting like pinch harmonics and stuff like that.
Right.
It's like, and other than that, Wretched also has this like hooky rocking feeling, almost like the Misfits.
Yeah. It was the most punkish out of all of them that I had heard, and I thought, like you were saying about youthful energy, it's very apparent on Wretched. I think the only thing that I didn't really like about Wretched was that it was almost too happy. I don't know if happy's the right word to use for it, but you once you go past that, everything else is like almost in a totally different vein, in my opinion, and so. I like the little bit more serious, almost doom aspect of the latter albums versus Wretched, which was just kind of like, all right, guys, we're in a band and holy shit, we're recording a record, and I definitely know that feeling, and so I can appreciate that when I hear it. But
obviously their sound would evolve and kind of come completely different of it. But I think. If I would have loved to have heard that album first before I've got a chance to listen to the later albums, so I would have seen them evolve instead of seeing them devolve. Kind of. Sure. I probably would have had a lot more of appreciation for Wretched, even though I still have a lot of songs on there that I like. There's still like some good stuff that's on there. Isolation, one of the songs they redid, I think that's a really cool hooky jam that's on there. Katzenjammer, that's definitely one of the more popular ones. Both of those songs were on Sons of Kyuss. But Katzenjammer has this really cool riff. It's like this, it's just like trucking away, and then all of a sudden they just boom, it comes to like a speeding halt, and then just goes down. And it's like just like real like groovy riff. Stuff like that as we really start seeing what would become the later, common themes in Kyuss. Once you hear that, it's also with the last song stage, so you hear them really start to mess with the effects. That whole track is blanked out in the end, and you really start to kind of, you really start to like, okay, you can kind of see where they're about to be heading here.
Right.
I definitely get the same type of satisfaction from listening to this as I get from listening to Bleach by Nirvana.
Yes.
Nobody will ever say that it sounds great, but it's one of those examples of it's all about the energy. Mm-hmm. And I get the same, I get the impression that if I listened to this band live, this is how I would have felt when I did. And that's cheesy because a lot of people say, oh, it's all about the energy, it's all about the feeling. It's like, no, this actually is. And I would have loved to heard the Son of Kyuss. I haven't heard that.
I think it's on YouTube. You can.
Yeah, that's the only way you can really.
Yeah. Everything's on YouTube now, isn't it great? Sometimes
you can see a little vinyl rip of it on YouTube. I actually went back and checked it out because I remember I had like a CD dub of it or something like that, and I was just like, this is as bad as medium as I remember it.
Well, is there a standout on this record for you? Because
I'd say definitely Isolation. It used to be called Isolation Desolation on Sons of Kyuss, but then got renamed Isolation. And it's just a good, hard ripping kind of like dark song. Let's have a conversation about Kyuss's lyrics for a moment momentarily.
He's been waiting this whole time.
Can somewhat be a little bit lighthearted at times. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Rick and Morty interdimensional cable episodes, but it's kind of like when they're just kind of like, man, it sounds like these guys are just kind of making it up as they go along.
Yeah, I noticed that because I'm typically a very deep lyric, like analytical lyric reader, and that's a lot of our episodes. We might say that a band has like the greatest music in the world, but the lyrics are dumb. I'm the first one to be like, oh, this is. But I didn't think this was dumb. This was like. It's just so out there. Yeah. It's
non-contrived. It wasn't supposed to be that. It was supposed to represent where they were. But I can totally see them. Never having lyrics until they sat down and record, and somebody was like, "Okay, well, these songs have to have lyrics now.
Right?
Go."
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ants in My Eyes, Nick Oliveri. Hi, I'm Ants in My Eyes.
At first, it's weird because at first I thought that there might have been some like metaphor going on here. Not that I've been able to pick up, and if it is there, I'm just not smart enough to pick up on it.
There's not. But yeah. No,
but if they're like 17, there's probably not too much going on there.
Exactly.
I get a Days of the New feel off these guys too, as far as young singer and just energy and feel. But like the lyrics are just kind of cheesy.
Well, they're not like Steel Panther cheesy, but
right.
No, that was kind of the Kyuss thing, man. I don't know. The lyrics just weren't like, every now and again you'd get some deep introspective stuff, but most of it was just like this really it sounded a bunch of just dudes making up stuff off the top of their head, man.
Yeah, well, I get kind of the same vibe that I get off of something like Neurosis, that it's really just all about the overall sound, in the end. And,
obviously.
Yeah. So next record.
1992, Blues for the Red Sun.
Blues for the Red Sun. This is my introduction when I heard Writhe off of 91.1. Once you go back and finally you get this record, and then you're just like, okay, I can finally listen to this thing, start to finish. Finally you hear Josh Homme's I'm going to say Homme forever. I still say Josh Homme.
It's all good.
Finally you hear Josh's tone, what would become his tone that would be popular in the remaining discography of Kyuss. The treble is completely rolled off. He's flipped up to his neck pickup position pretty much here into the end of all of their songs that they would ever write. I've done like a little bit of research on like the tones, and like obviously they were like using just like kind of like bass amps and things like that, and it just came out with this just thunderous sludge of riffs, and like even bands that played like slow and psychedelic at that point in time, like kind of like I guess you can go into like like the Melvins and things like that. They still I don't think the Melvins hit that low end.
Not even close. No.
You mentioned the Misfits earlier, though.
Yeah, no, but
Darren von Frankenstein, that's what he does.
But there was a certain
bass amps.
There was a certain like innate like seriousness though to the depth of this tone. Like, like calling it sludgy isn't even really like that accurate. It's deeper than that.
It has these harmonic resonances that just sound so real, and what I also love about it is like when you sit there and you listen to the record, you hear his amp hissing through like the entire thing.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't care either. It's all about just
No, he just ends up rocking it out, man. But yeah, this album ends up just like kind of just starts off with Thumb, and which is just once again Kyuss at their lighthearted lyrics at their best. But yeah, I still I love the riff of this. It just, such a great kickoff to the album. And then after that, you go into Green Machine, which is one of my favorite Kyuss songs. I absolutely love that song. It's just, the riff starts to entrance you as so much as Kyuss does. And then once they've got you, it's like, boom, it just takes off. And then it's just like, you feel like you're just like riding this roller coaster, into the stratosphere, and then boom, you hit the fucking warp zone, and then
then it goes
you were
crazy.
just flying. And it's the whole beginning of this album just seems like this like bait to like get you, and then once they get you, they just take you on this fucking roller coaster ride of like just all sorts of different kinds of sounds. I mean, they just go from like clean jammy stuff to acoustic stuff to just back to just like crushing heavy stuff. I mean, it's just this. There was just absolutely nothing that sounded like this when it came out. Absolutely nothing.
not in '92. I mean, what was everybody listening to in '92? Nirvana,
Nirvana, Rage Against the Machine, Soundgarden.
Yeah, even Soundgarden sounded nothing like this sonically. Obviously I was a big Soundgarden fan, as well during this time, but nothing really sounded that crushing.
Yeah, the only thing I can really compare it to is how nowadays, people like stuff like Trivium or, Shadows Fall or Slipknot or something, but then you're like, oh, okay, so you like metal, cool. And then you show them something that's like really heavy, you throw out like an Obituary record or a Cannibal Corpse record. But then all of a sudden they're like, oh, wait, no, hold on, you went too far. And I feel like it's kind of the same shit with Kyuss back in '92, where if you like Nirvana, if you like Soundgarden, you like that kind of Alice in Chains, that kind of stuff, there's things about Kyuss that are similar that you can find.
Definitely.
But they're the band that takes it too far. It's like, wait a minute. This is too much.
No.
This has gone beyond my limit. What's my safe word?
We were all having a good time party when we had, some hot shirtless dudes and videos and stuff like that. Right. I don't know about these weirdos in the desert now. Let's just take a break. Let's get serious.
I recall you saying the same thing to me when I showed you Snot for the first time.
Oh, yeah, I did act that way. Yeah.
You're like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, this is everything you like. All at once.
Yeah. But then he said, fuck the people. And I was like, I'm the people, man.
You can't say fuck me.
Right.
Fuck you.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely, though. It's like they just took it too far, And that's obviously, that's why we love this kind of music, because that's what it's all about, really, is guys that take it a little too far.
No, exactly. They took it as far as they could, and when they it was very just like, okay, we are going to make this bombastic sound, and they just absolutely did it. There's a bunch of good songs off of here, man, and once you get around to Thong Song.
Yeah,
I'm glad you brought it up.
The original Thong Song, yeah.
And the original Thong Song, if somebody could just do a mashup, I'm going to get to work on that right now. This podcast is over.
All right, yep, all right, yep, see ya, yep.
It's been great, guys.
Right. I got better things to do, yeah.
You're listening to the album, and all of a sudden that track comes on. And you're just like, what
the hell?
And obviously this is Josh Homme. I don't know if it's what it is, but it sounds like he's just messing with people at this time. It's just like, okay, well, you heard from your metalhead friends that this album was cool, and you picked it up, and now you're playing it for all your friends, and then this track comes on, and you're just like, I'm still into this.
Yeah. This is still cool, right? Yeah.
This is still cool. It's just such a weird track, and it's that kind of feel and aesthetic I felt like that you would eventually see in Queens of the Stone Age after a while, and you just see where
definitely.
You would feel Josh's like humor inside his. He seems like a man that just has inside jokes just between himself and himself.
Right.
And I'm sure he thinks he's hilarious.
Sure.
One of the other cooler things about this song that I never noticed until when I was getting hyped up to do this. I was going back and listening to it and stuff, and I was just jamming it. I always generally pick about like a week out of the year to listen to all my favorite bands' albums, and I was like, so this made a good time to do it. But when you're listening to when this song starts, you hear him clicking a flanger pedal on and off in the left speaker. He's sitting there playing and singing, and when he's not singing, you hear just a. And I'm just like, you guys are just stone fucking around in the studio in there, man. Y'all are just around. You're messing with me.
It's one of those. I click this button and it makes a sound. Here, look.
Hey guys, check this out. Check this out.
Hey, Cage. Here, play this note.
Yeah, come look at this.
All right, that's a song. Next song. That's some Tenacious D right there.
I just see all these and I think I can't remember how old everybody is. I think everybody's a little younger. I'm pretty sure John Garcia is younger than Josh Homme. But you can just see all those dudes just sitting in the studio blasted, just being like, wow, man, that's really cool.
You're not going to believe what this pedal I found does.
So, dude, I found this guy. His name's Jim Morrison. He's got this band called The Doors. We should do something like that. Oh, you mean that style? No, like freeform. Everything freeform. All right, so this song is called The Thong Song. This is going to be a big hit in the early 2000s. Not for the same reason.
Yeah, and years from now, we are going to inspire someone to write a song.
Then you get past that when it kind of jumps back into it starts getting back into you start getting into you get into Freedom Run, which is just the predecessor right to 800, which is kind of just like a weird vocal thing that's going on where he starts to alternate free to run, free to run, free to run, free to run, and then he starts going Freedom Run. And then it changes into Freedom Run, Freedom Run, Freedom Run. Obviously, these guys are blasted on acid.
Absolutely.
Love them for. And then
I really dug Alan's Wrench.
Yeah.
I mean, it's another one. It's another Kyuss song, but that's when I was kind of back to, oh, look at this. I'm still listening to Kyuss. I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's got a good riff. Ride will always have a special place in my heart just when it starts to it comes in just real open chords. But this is another great thing about Kyuss is that you listen to them and their heaviness is really in their simplicity. I mean, there's not a lot of there's not a lot of guitar gymnastics going on here, man.
No, not at all. Anybody can play this, but who did play it?
No,
yeah,
exactly. It's just here you go. They just bang it out, and I mean, it is just it sounds just like if a caveman had to make a record, and you just taped a fucking guitar to his forehead, and he's just bam, bam. Right. It's awesome. And then when it just has a huge opening chords, and then it just goes into that pounding thing. And I just remember when I heard that, I was hooked. I was like, oh my God, I want to listen to this. It's one of those jams. You're just in your room by yourself and you're just on top of the bed, just rocking out, just like a little kid, sisters banging on the doors. Turn that fucking shit down, you son of a bitch.
Leave me alone. This is brilliant. Yeah.
Or you're just this is my thing. I definitely had one of those moments the first time I listened to that.
I'm going to go start a band called People Mover.
Oh shit. Okay.
All right. Ixnay on the Eeple Mover.
We're not going down that road today. What surprised me about this record too is this one's clearly out of the first two, this one's clearly the best. And what I found interesting was that this record did not do well. I mean, obviously it did well enough to get him signed to Elektra, right?
Right.
So mission accomplished.
You got the record deal.
Yeah. So this record, just like Wretched, was really hard to find, and it's disappointing. I've got the first 3 Kyuss albums on cassette, actually, and that's the beauty of nobody giving a shit about cassettes anymore. Is that just they're there in the wind. So
literally go out and it's well, I've got $5 and come home with I have every band's discography.
Right, I have an indie. Right, so I'm gonna start now. I'm gonna have to start a podcast about them. Yeah, so that's exactly. Way more accurate statement than you would believe. But yeah, no, this record is probably my favorite Kyuss because It's a mix of old and new. It still has that youthful energy, and I don't feel like they were like pure fucking doom yet, you know. And I don't know if they ever went pure doom, but you know what I mean. Like as we go on, we slow down.
It's kind of
as you go on, you slow down, and there's definitely some stuff if they get down there. This is definitely like the predecessor of what we refer to as doom. When I talk about doom, it's just like, you know, it's really just, I'm just looking for the ingredients, not really for what the sound is really. I mean, if you've got slow guitars, they're tuned down, you're singing about space aliens.
Right, sure.
You got doom, okay? I don't care what you want to call it. If you put a bunch of tomato sauce on some spaghetti, it's spaghetti.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like, I'm not going to sit here and get into a bunch of subgenres about it. You know, that's just what it is to me.
Nobody has time to pull up that Excel spreadsheet and be like, okay, does it contain the following criteria? Yeah, sure.
If this, then that.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of subgenres, welcome to Sky Valley.
Oh, yeah.
1994.
Now it's time for church, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Trey Suiter.
Well, it's a good Sunday, so let's do it.
Sky Valley is my desert rock album. It's just like you can have one. That's it. It's absolutely perfect in my mind. I remember this was the first one. Finally, they're on Elektra. I remember going to Tower Records and back in the day, and like the only way you'd really be able to listen to new music is like their little listening stations. And there I saw it, Kyuss. I was like, oh my God, Kyuss, you know? And I sat there and I put my headphones on and I hear the first track of Gardenia. And I'm just like, it's just, oh my God, what is this space trip I'm going on, man? I was just like, it took me to another level. I still will just turn that album up, listen to that first heavy riff, and it's just like the first time I ever heard it. This is where Kyuss really starts to explore their spaciness sound. They really start to play around with like different abstract feels, and it's obvious. I think that Garcia and Josh sat down and were just like, okay, we want to take this band spacey. I mean, all the titles like have like space, like, you know, Space Cadet, Asteroid, shit like that. You know, this was them, like this is the first time in Kyuss where I think they started to become a kind of a focused, contrived is a bad word, but they wanted to go for it. It's like, I want to make an album like this, where previously it just sounds a bunch of dudes showed up in a jam room with a 6-pack and, you know, just started, you know, bashing it out.
Right. This
is like, I want to make something like this, and then they made it.
I think the word we would use for now would be pretentious, but that's not really the right word. But no, they very, you know, hey guys, it's 3 songs. Well, there's 10 tracks. There's 3 songs. Okay. All right, cool. Let's go with it. You know.
Well, you got to remember, for anybody who gets this like on Spotify or Apple Music or something like that, it's not like that anymore.
Right.
It's separated into separate tracks.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
So they don't know. They would never know that
it's a continuous.
Yeah, there were 3 continuous tracks, and then you had the secret track at the end,
and that's
which we'll get to.
And that's what's great about having the tape.
Because you never know.
Right. Oh, man. But, I mean, Gardenia, I mean, I just like thinking about it. I just love it so much. Written by Brant Bjork, the drummer.
Absolutely.
I am a big Brant Bjork fan. I was a big fan of him when he was in Fu Manchu, and his solo stuff is really, really cool. It's very laid back and very, very new and fresh. I like it quite a bit. But then they start going into Asteroid. It's second track on the album's an instrumental. You know,
sped up though. It's a little sped up. At least,
mm-hmm.
You know,
they start to speed it up at the end. Oh man, that track. It's like, all right, you guys are gonna have to indulge me into my childhood brain, but I always had like this like narrative when I listened to that song. It just sounds like, you know, it's like you think about it like an asteroid is like crashing into it. And it's like the beginning of it's like clean, and it's just like it's kind of like the serenity before this asteroid comes and destroys it. And then the entire song switches, the distortion comes on, and it's just wow, it just starts pounding you in the fucking face, and it sounds like now you're from the asteroid's perspective.
Our version of that would be Hope's Fall.
Yeah.
If it just this onslaught begins out of seemingly nothing.
Yeah.
And then you're locked into space for the next hour.
Yeah, exactly. And then just that riff that just starts getting faster. I mean, it's I remember learning that riff, and it's a fun riff to play. It's a blast, but that song is just so killer. I love it.
I love any rhythm guitarist that is not afraid to bust out the wah-wah pedal.
Mm-hmm. And he does it.
This is the 90s, baby. It's allowed.
It's the 90s.
Oh yeah,
it's allowed today. I don't care. I'm still rocking mine.
I don't know if it's allowed today.
Oh, I wah. I don't really do it. I do it a lot. I mean, I don't waka chicka wow wow, but
right.
I still do it for like, I kind of do it like Frank Zappa used it. He just kind of used it to kind of just like change the sound of it. Like I don't really do it like really fast unless I'm looking for like a freaky effect or something like that. But I just kind of like I move it kind of back and forth or like really high up so I can just kind of cut the bass end out for like a new kind of sound.
See, there's a rule. Anytime anybody brings up Frank Zappa, I have to ask, are you a Captain Beefheart fan?
I am.
We'll talk later.
You guys could do that episode by yourself.
Took off my pants and felt free.
I won't say I'm the hugest fan, but I jammed some Trout Mask for sure.
Absolutely. Got it on vinyl. We'll talk.
Oh yeah, baby. Oh yeah, man. But no, just kind of going track by track. Then you go into Super Scuba. The vocals come back. Another good pounding riff song with John Garcia kind of hitting like some high stuff during the chorus. This has also got that weird outro where it does like those three guitar hits that get farther and farther apart.
Yeah. Trippy.
Because we're assholes. The song's not over yet.
It was kind of a dick move. But
like you're sitting there and it's like, you get up to like go like, you're like, well, this song's over. You get up to go something. It just like scares the crap out of you that last time it plays. That's crazy.
That's the thing that we all think would be a really good idea in practice, and then we try it in the studio, and we end up cutting it from the record. No.
Yes.
Oh, no. No, Kyuss. No, we're leaving it in.
Only a tight band like that could be able to do it, and it's just so obvious that they're recording in the same room together. Obviously that they down those tracks.
That's what's great, because they can.
Speaking of wah pedal, then we go into 100 Degrees.
I'm glad you brought that up.
All of a sudden, you're just kind of in
this.
This
is track 2, right?
Huh? Yes.
It's track 2, right? Yeah. Okay.
With that crazy thing, it's like you hear the volume on his guitar come up. It pans from right to left, and you hear, and you're just like, uh-oh. And then boom, all of a sudden you're back into just high gear, and you're kind of into like some more of the stuff that you'd be familiar with if you were listening to Blues from the Red Sun or something like that. It kind of reminds you of some.
I remember really wishing I was more drunk listening to this record. I mean, that's always, I always felt like there was a certain level of enjoyment. Like I enjoyed it 100%, but I was like, maybe I could enjoy it 150% if I was. You know what I'm talking about, though, right? Like when you're a little buzzed, even like music that maybe didn't grab you as much before becomes like literally the greatest thing you've ever heard.
Well, it's all set and setting. I mean, it's hard to get. I find it hard to get into a mindset where I can really enjoy music unless I've like had some time to just kind of distance myself from the the real world.
Absolutely, yeah.
Air quotes for everybody in podcast. But no, I mean, and you crack a couple of brews, man, and it kind of takes it makes it a little bit easier to kind of forget the ridiculousnesses of reality.
Sure.
And just kind of get in a good jammy mood. Trust me, I hear what you're throwing down. Okay, but yeah. 100 Degrees, it kicks off just like an absolute just juggernaut of a rocker. Lovely track. I have some fond memories of being particularly buzzed. I was playing guitar for this girl on Arista Records for a little while. I was a hired gun. We were opening for the Cult. And,
nice. Damn.
And I remember being in the hotel room just after a good show and just cranking 100 degrees up. Just having a tornado rock and roll fun time. Just myself, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Space Cadet. I bring up Space Cadet because where the fuck did this come from?
I listen to it still today. Okay, this is another thing I want to talk about with this album is how dry the vocals are. You listen to a lot of metal records, including, Rifft, and it's saturated in reverb. It leads to the sound. And it is very interesting to me to listen to a band that is so, that is trying to like generate this like psychedelic vibe, this psychedelic sound. Really not a lot of effects on the vocals.
I expected it to be more otherworldly, but it wasn't.
Yeah, every now and again you hear them like in Space Cadet, he's like singing dry, and then after a while it turns to this very background thing where it sounds like he's singing through like a Leslie cabinet, and that is really the only effect he would ever use. And you hear it time and again on "And the Circus Leaves Town," but there's I don't think there's any reverb on here. You listen to Gardenia, you listen to the beginning of Space Cadet, and it's just dry as hell. You're just listening to his voice, and it's just so personal. The lyrics to it, I think it's probably lyrically my favorite Kyuss song. That was when they finally, it's just like they kind of turn from this, and they had this like really introspective vibe that was in there, and you just hear everybody in there jamming. That acoustic line comes in, you hear that tambourine hit that comes in like after a while. Brant's just back there, he's not really hitting snare, or he's got his snare disengaged or something, and he's just sitting there just kind of rolling back, and they're just kind of jamming and feeling it, and it's absolutely beautiful. That's just a really, really beautiful song.
Yeah, it all comes together really there.
You mentioned the no reverb thing. I mean, there's the 90s right there, ladies and gentlemen. There was either no reverb at all or too much.
You got Butthole Surfers.
You either had Butthole Surfers or you had this. You either had Pearl Jam or you had Nirvana. I mean, that's what it was. And I don't know why it became such a dirty thing, but you don't need it for this.
No, you don't. No, you don't. And it was great. I'm glad it was kind of left out of the sound for sure. I think that was I got the feeling they might have messed around with it, and then they finally just kind of pulled it out. Or maybe even John Garcia was really adamant about that. He's just like, no, I don't want reverb. No, I don't want reverb on my vocals at all. Who knows? That's something. That's one of the things. If I could ever pin one of them down to talk about Kyuss, I'm sure they all hate each other and are totally, probably completely tired of even talking about it. But still, so many questions.
What happened to the band? Because, I mean, you're only around for 5 years and you put out all this great music.
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, only thing I can do is read an interview here or two and hear where they've been pissed off and suing each other and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, I don't know these guys. I try not to be a fanatic like that. And like, it's like, I really don't want to be deep into their personal lives. I just want to kind of respect them for making some awesome music. I feel like if I knew every single thing about everybody I listen to, I'd stop listening to music. So I just don't really.
It would ruin it for you. You know, it really, in a lot of bands, I've been that guy that's like wanting to know everything, you know? And that's probably just the podcaster in me. You know, you want the full scoop,
exactly.
You know, for everything. But the thing is that like, it can really kill your appreciation for certain people.
Yeah.
You know?
So sometimes you're just like, man, I wish I would have never met that band.
Oh, yeah.
They're dicks.
Well, yeah. I mean, especially like with what we do, you know, it's one of those, like, you're really taking a chance when you ask somebody to be on, and you're like, oh, man, I was a huge fan of them, but they were total assholes to us. You know, like.
Thankfully, that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, we've been very lucky. Toomey's told me some stories, but yeah.
No, you're catching me on a good day. You're catching me on a good day.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know if Toomey warned you about me or had good or bad things to say.
I'm surprised he didn't warn you about us. We've been known to go on for 3 hours before. Or those guys.
Well, Titans kick off at 3. I can't go that long.
There you go.
But no, continuing on, just to kind of get down to my next, like, this is probably another one of my favorite tracks on the album is Demon Cleaner.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
If the liner notes are correct on this, on the greatest hits thing they put out, this is apparently a first take. Apparently,
bullshit. There's no way.
That's what the liner notes say on the greatest. They say it's a first take.
All right.
Demon. How in the world could you have done this on a first take? I have no idea. Now I don't know what they mean musically or vocally all at the same time or anything like that. I would have a guess that it meant musically, obviously, and then they went and did the vocal overdub. But this song, just like, man, it is just a snake charmer of a riff, man. It just does this thing to you, man, and it's just like it starts to have this, like, Arabic modal feel or whatever you call it. I don't know. I'm not much of a music.
In video game terms, I was like, oh, we're in the desert level. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, it's just so interesting. It's just like, man, here comes it's like we've had so many feelings so far, yet here's a new one.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's an absolutely awesome track. The other that one, then you finally move into track 3. The next three, next 3 songs are kind of like, they're good songs. I like them a lot. But the last song, Whitewater, once again written by Brant. This entire album is bookended by Brant Bjork. It's to be honest with you, I never really knew that. Well, that's if Wikipedia's right. Who knows?
He's
I
great.
guess
No, I think the liner notes do credit.
Yeah,
Because this was his last record, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. But Whitewater, what a beautiful jam in the middle of it. It has probably one of my favorite bass lines in rock. Scott Reeder starts to do this, like, almost like dub reggae thing. After a while, it's just like that. Doom, 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 boom, 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 boom. All this, like, he keeps on flipping back and forth. All the while, Josh is just kind of like, doing like this kind of like high noodling thing. Mm-hmm. And man, and then it just kind of starts to break apart and just fall away, and this album just kind of fades away.
It fades out.
It doesn't leave you with this, like, crushing ending, this giant outro, this crescendo. It just goes away.
Almost like we'll be back for more. Stay tuned.
Yeah, one last time, bitches.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Sure.
Oh, man.
Well, let's talk about the circus leaving town.
Let's do it, man. As we leave my favorite album of all time and go into what will be the last Kyuss full length, when you listen to this album sounds like a band's last album.
It's a swan song album for sure.
Yeah, you're listening to it and it just has that vibe that they're just like, I won't say that's like it's a contractual obligation, but it really sounds like they are kind of being pulled in like these just different interests of what the band should sound like at this point in time. If I was to speculate at this point in time, I feel Josh is really ready to jump off the diving board and go into just rock absolute weirdness, which is what Queens of the Stone Age would become. This just absolute, like, I think he really wanted to just when he wanted, like, he was doing whatever he wanted in Kyuss, and then he was ready to take that up a level, and you start to hear that in this album. Mm-hmm. Most notably when you hear El Rodeo kick off, man. Another one of those just like kind of like his desert level songs, as you like to say, which is my favorite track on the album, which is mostly instrumental. It's like this probably has my favorite tone of Josh's. I feel like he really perfected his guitar tone on this one. Still just like heavy as all get out. The first 2 tracks when he gets off, it feels like when I listen to this album, like the songs are out of order or something.
Yeah, they could go for a rearrangement.
Yeah, I'm just like, Hurricane's a good song. I don't know if it was an opener though, but I felt like maybe just everything else on here, nothing really sounded like an opener, so they were just like, well, throw Hurricane on there. One Inch Man has got a really cool vibe to it. It's just really, really odd and strange. And you start to hear just like all like the kind of like the weirdness really start to take a hold. It's starting to focus elsewhere. Instead of being like this, like crushing juggernaut all the time, this like sonically expansive, insanity, all of a sudden the focus is on weird. And a common thing you hear in this album a lot is also like on like the early Van Halen. There's a lot of points in which the guitar is on one side and the bass is on the other.
Yeah, I noticed that listening to them on my speakers, actually. I've got just a straight stereo speaker set up. And I thought something was actually wrong with one of my speakers for a minute because I was only getting the bass out of it. Because, I mean, most modern recordings aren't that way. So my brain did a total, okay, this is supposed to sound this way.
They do a lot of that. Garcia would do a lot of that, like different like breakdowns, like in previously, like in Space Cadet. Like there's a point where you just hear his voice just coming just very lowly out of just like one speaker. They really kind of took advantage of that. They would do stuff like that like all the time, which was it was really cool. It had an amazing effect on there. The old Boozeroonie, that's a good jam. Written by Scott Reeder, apparently. Once again, if Wikipedia
that's one of my
correct.
favorites on this record.
That's just got a great jam to it, man. You start to go into, then you get like Jumbo, Blimp Jumbo, Tangy Zizzle. There was a real good band in Nashville back in the day called Christine that used to do an awesome cover of Tangy Zizzle. It was really awesome. But yeah, I mean, it's like you start to hear all this stuff, and like this is where this album is just like it really starts to become like you start to hear like kind of the groundwork of what's going to become kind of Queens of the Stone Age. You start to hear their weirdness.
Yeah, it's a good transition, actually.
Yeah, it's like you really start to hear it in there. And there's just like this album has so much, like there's a lot of instrumentals and there's a lot of songs that are absent of vocals, and it's kind of interesting to me. I mean, they've always had songs that were like they would like take a break from vocals, especially early on in the album, which I'm sure drove Elektra mad. I can just see them being an A&R man's absolute fucking nightmare. Just like the second song's an instrumental. The third, it's like, what do you mean you have instrument? What do you mean you have a singer and he doesn't sing?
We need hits. We need the first half of this record to be so hit heavy. It's like you assholes can do whatever you want on side B, like that's.
Yeah, exactly. And if there ever was a hitless band, this is it, man. I mean, it's just not there, Now you'd have to be waiting around for Queens of the Stone Age.
It's cool. It's cool for
you'll
musicians.
You'll get your No One Knows eventually, guys. Okay.
Yeah, bands that are cool for musicians, but everybody else, it's like, all right.
A band's band, yeah. I mean, that's just kind of how it is, and it's like if, it's kind of like the things like like not a lot of people listen to like albums in their entirety these days, but that's how this music was written to listen to.
Right.
Putting Kyuss on a playlist, you're missing the point. Because you were missing all the other songs, that need to be contrasted against it to get it. I mean, it's just so out of place. It's supposed to be listened to as an album, and you just when I hear it, it's like I don't listen to Kyuss unless I'm going to listen to the entire album. And if I'm going to listen to it, as soon as I get back into my car, I pick up right where I left off, and it's like I'm just whoop. Right back into the jam, right there where I left off, man.
Yeah, usually when we do an episode with a band, we do a playlist, a suggested playlist, because we can't really get away with playing like entire songs,
right?
Or maybe we can. We're just not willing to take the chance. Somebody, a listener suggested, well, can't you guys just at least make a playlist? It's like, but for certain bands, it's kind of like. Yeah, listen to this album, and this album.
It's like they only had really 4 albums. Like, it's like here, it's one of those. I love bands where like, you could go, spend, $40 or so back a day, and you have their discography. Because I mean, there's some bands that are just like, I like, but they're just absolutely so daunting to get into, like the Swans or something like that.
Sure,
it's just
yeah.
like, I was like, where the hell do I start with this? I don't know. It's like, I have a friend of mine recommend a couple albums that I like, but I mean, then you go talk to like, people who are just like huge fans who just consider and just rattle off all this information about 4 Million album. I even have trouble doing that with Frank Zappa, and I'm a huge Zappa fan.
Well, it's much easier to recommend a record to somebody than it is a band.
Yeah. And if Kyuss, and this is the thing, even though Sky Valley is my favorite album, I don't think I'd recommend it as the one to start off. I'd still recommend Blues for the Red Sun to start off with.
That's kind of my outlook on that. There's some bands that have been around for a while that have a lot of records that have distinct songs. You can give somebody a playlist and say, now if you're into it after this, go listen to this record. This band, it's go pick up a copy of Blues for the Red Sun, sit down, light said candle,
right.
Drink said beer, and enjoy.
Or light other item that you may have.
Yes, exactly. However you choose to relax. If you're living in Colorado, Nevada,
Yeah.
Don't want to promote the
Whatever
illegal.
you want. Yeah.
Okay, so this is where I'm going to take a little moment to rant. I'm going to use your platform to rant about something.
We got you, brother.
Is there a specific song you'd like me to play while you rant?
No, I wish I wish you would have said something. Maybe I could have played. Had like some sequence synthesizer madness ready to cue or something like that. If you could do that, that's fine.
Give me 3 seconds.
Okay.
He's got all night to work on it after this, so he can make it sound however he wants it to sound.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. If you have decided to look at the review for "And the Circus Leaves Town" on Apple Music, you will see a synopsis of this album, which hits all the high points, and the usual adjectives and things like that. But there's fucking something that pisses me the fuck off, and that's the fact that they refer to the last track, Spaceship Landing, as a 30-minute epic. It is not a 30-minute epic. You just listened to the first fucking seconds, and then you heard and you saw the track length, and then you wrote it, because if you would have listened to it, you would have known it only goes on for 11 minutes and had space for almost 20, and then a secret track. So if you're hearing me, whoever wrote that, you need to be fired, and you need to hire me to write the proper review of this album, because you got somebody mailing it in over there. They're over there just collecting a paycheck. They're sitting there skimming through tracks. They're just like, we need you to cover Kyuss. And the fact that this album that really meant so much to me just kind of ended up on some dude's to-do list.
A 34-minute triptych.
Yes.
Good God.
It's 20 minutes of silence because it was making space for the fucking it was making space for the secret track at the end.
That's horrible.
Because this is the 90s when secret tracks were a thing, and that was the thing. Like, how long does the album go?
That is fucking horrible, dude. Okay, so like I can't pretend like I know, but like holy shit, dude, even I bullshit better than that. I mean,
really,
come
man.
on.
I mean,
honestly,
God.
I if I wanted to just do a shitty job, at the very least, just copy and paste from Wikipedia. I mean, goddamn.
Yeah, man.
Like, what the hell? This guy can't even be lazy, right?
I know, man. And I'm just like, dude, it's like, which is kind of sad, because I kind of enjoy the Apple Music product, because the playlists are actually pretty tight. I mean, I see a lot of love that they put into some stuff from time to time. They're just like, laid back krautrock volume 2 from, southern Germany. It's like they really go deep on a lot of things.
Sure.
And I know there's some dudes down there that really care, but the fact that this ended up on, not give a fuck Johnson's desk this day, it irks me, guys. It irks me.
Unfortunately, I think the blame lies solely on the label or whomever has the right to distribute this content, because anytime I've done...
Yeah, I think they provide their own synopsis.
Yeah, anytime I've done any type of music distribution online, it's usually done through one service that distributes to Spotify, Google Play, Apple, and I'm noticing it's the same thing on Google Google. It's coming up as a 34. So somebody paid somebody else to cut that album up and distribute that, and
so what you didn't know is you're mad at a whole group of people now.
I didn't know that. Now it's like not okay. So number one, there's some dude who's mailing it in at Apple Music as far as the synopsises go,
right.
And apparently there's some dude, meta dude to blame for all this as well. So I don't know who that dude is.
I'll tell you this: you can always tell when it's a remix because there are bands that have had hidden tracks that if you look them up in digital media, the hidden track is a separate track, and I'm thinking, who remixed the record?
Right.
I hate hidden tracks because I can't just go to them on my iPod or on my cell phone. But there was a time and a place where they existed, and in that time and place, who remixed the fucking record? I want to know, because this should be down here like 20 minutes in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Dan, can't you wait until you buy that copy of Nevermind with Endless Nameless as track 14?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. I don't know, man. I like hidden tracks that are hidden, but yeah, to be that brazen, like, I mean, shit, I just thought that if you're writing a synopsis of a record, the least you could do is listen to the fucking record.
The entire record.
Right, yeah. Like, come on.
That is the least. Like it, hate it, not pay attention to, if you're not living on every single syllable of every single vocal line, yeah, I understand, I get it. But just the fact that your ears have heard it is enough, I guess.
What's especially offensive is that he, like, a 34-minute triptych, like, he's puffing it up. You know what I mean?
I know, man. He's like
shit.
These adjectives I'm coming up with, dude, man. Yeah.
Like, just don't mention it. Yeah, just don't mention it. Don't be like, it's a 34-minute triptych. It's an epic track that changes your life, does your taxes, burns your house to the ground and rebuilds it. It's like, what the hell?
Yeah. You're one of those hipsters that thinks that the silence is an artistic choice.
Oh, my God. No, I don't know. No,
they're mixing that silence for hours.
Good rant.
I'm sure.
Good rant.
Yeah.
Good shit.
Hang on. Insert Final Fantasy VII here, Joe. I forgot to have it pulled up.
Joe put on some kind of like raging death metal while you were ranting.
Okay.
So funny.
We'll deal with that.
You said synthetic like nonsense, so I went for it was either that or Ganglia.
No, we're not doing that. No electronic grindcore today.
Oh man, electronic grindcore.
Well, Trey, I'll give it to you first. Final thoughts on Kyuss.
Man, Kyuss. I feel like I wouldn't be making the music I make today without listening to them. I feel like these guys just really are like a prototype for if you're starting a band or something and you just like, they just kind of have that feel kind of like, like Nirvana felt, or just like these are just some people in a jam room making music they never thought anything would really come of it. And it came out sounding so original. And it's like when you listen to it, you hear that. It transcends whatever genre, stoner rock, stoner metal that you want to end up coming up with. It's just it sounds like it was personal to them, so it became personal to me. And I don't know. I'm just as much as I do, those dudes I'm sure hate each other now. I'm glad for however members were in the band, however 75 members played it. They barely had 2 records with. I thought they only had 2 records with the same lineup back to back. I'm glad at some point in time they pulled it together enough to make those few records. So yeah.
Dan, what about you?
Oh man, final thoughts on Kyuss. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed that there isn't more. I would love to hear that band in a modern setting, and you could argue that maybe that's Queens of the Stone Age, but I think the bands are still different enough, and that's one of those things where it's one of those, I'm going to show you this band from the 90s, and it's going to be heavier and sludgier and make you feel differently than anything else you've experienced.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely. Have you ever had a chance to check out where John Garcia actually got up to do a couple of Kyuss songs?
No.
Yeah, there's 3 YouTube clips recorded horribly, just on like some dude's phone or something like that. But they do Thumb, Hurricane, and Super Scuba all in a row.
Check that out.
And it's cool because they kind of like Josh Hom's like, okay, now we're gonna do some old shit, and then Garcia just kind of comes out, and everybody's just like, oh shit, and then they just like went in, they go with the thumb, if I'm not mistaken, the first track. And I remember like I remember reading about it on a blog, and then like I had to download the videos, but now it's on YouTube.
Nice.
I feel like Andre the Giant when I listen to Kyuss. I feel like the biggest guy in the room who's a legit badass that everybody loves and nobody can do a damn thing to.
That's yes.
Trey, we have a tradition on this podcast of what we like to call the album of the week. It can be anything that you've been listening to. It doesn't have to be anything to do with Kyuss. It seems like an extreme possibility that your album of the week could be a Kyuss record. What is your album of the week?
Actually, it will be, oddly enough, it is going to be the latest EP put out by the electronic artist Perturbator.
Interesting.
Okay, cool.
I don't know if how familiar you guys are with French electronic synthwave influenced insanity. These guys are on the label Blood Music.
Okay.
It's the same label that put out that. Do you remember that Giant Emperor box set that got put out?
Yes, I do.
That label, very oddly enough, puts out black metal and French electronica pretty much exclusively.
Man, if our other host Jeff was here, he would
proceed with a 20-minute rant.
He would definitely follow with a 20-minute. He's probably very familiar. I'm going to text him about that here in a little bit.
But no, the new Perturbator is absolutely amazing. I'm actually they are on tour. I am seeing them Tuesday.
Wow.
Their new EP is called New Model. It is not only does it hit just like the great just like the kind of key like synthwave like 80s sounds. It also gets like really harsh at times, almost like industrial in spots as well. There's an amazing opening act called Makeup and Vanity Set. He is an electronic artist here from Nashville he does like a lot of like soundtracky stuff. He actually did I don't know if you're familiar with Death Note, but on Netflix. There was a live action Death Note movie that just recently came out, which is
not the Netflix live action series, but there was one they did in Japan, I believe.
They had the manga. Well, not the manga, but they had the anime, and then they just did a made for Netflix movie based around that. That was pretty. But anyway,
and Willem Dafoe is playing Ryuk, which.
Yes.
God, how do you fuck that up? You have Willem Dafoe playing Ryuk.
I don't know how they did it. I mean, but anyway, Makeup and Vanity Set.
That's upsetting.
But yeah, I'm hyped for that. But yeah, that's my album of the week. I listen to a lot of different genres of music. I don't just stick to metal a lot. I actually do a lot of electronic music in my spare time as a solo project. I
mentioned Snot, so I'm going to say everybody should go listen to Snot by Snot.
Another great band where you only have to buy one album.
Unfortunately, it's a damn good record. What about you, D?
Not to be the generic metalhead, as you guys are all like, let's all go out of the box. I've been listening to Forever by Code Orange, so
nice.
That's just me. Something a little heavier, something a little bit more modern. But yeah, in between my sessions of Kyuss, I was listening to a lot of Code Orange, who actually me and Jeff are going to go see them, I believe, with Gojira and Torch. They're going to be here.
Killer.
They're going to be here in St. Louis in October.
I'm a huge Torch fan.
Yeah, Torch is fucking amazing.
As far as like bands that have really just kind of came up with their own style, Torch has really got it. I love the hooky heaviness. that they've got. I've seen them about 3 times. I've seen them a couple times in clubs in Nashville, and I saw them at this festival in Atlanta about I guess like 8 years ago or something like that, Scion Fest in Atlanta. And yeah, I love them a lot. I've only seen the tail end of Gojira's set. I believe they were opening for Metallica.
Okay,
at some point in time, and I had gotten free tickets to go see him, and we got there late, and I think we caught like the tail end of Gojira. But luckily, we did get to see Lemmy play with Metallica that night.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I never got to see Motorhead. but that's the closest I ever got was to see Lemmy get on stage and play a couple Motorhead jams with Metallica that night.
That's pretty cool.
It was cool.
Well, Trey, if I've done my research correctly, everybody can buy the new Rifft EP at rifft.bandcamp.com. That's Rifft with 2 Fs.
F's. Like Jeffrey with 1 F, but 2 F's. That's a Pixies reference.
That second F is for fuck. Fucking Rifft.
I kind of wanted a name that was just kind of, I was just like, man, we got to come up with a cool name. And I'm just like, I'd rather come up with a dumb name so I don't have to worry about it being cool.
There you go.
So now there it goes.
And on that note, this has been episode 31 of Discography Discussion. Thank you for listening. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at discussmetal. Subscribe to our podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts, including Google Play, iTunes, and Stitcher. Visit discussmetal.com for all things discography discussion. And please send questions and comments to danandjoeshow@gmail.com.
Is that it?
I think that's good. I think we're good, dude. Yeah.
I can do more if you want.
No, we're good, man.
We also just, if you guys, we just had a lineup change as well.
Yeah, I saw that. Drummer, right?
Mm-hmm. The drummer that was on the last EP, he unfortunately had to bail. Just sometimes life comes at you.
Shit happens. I get you.
Yeah, I love Jason to death, and he's an absolute thunder horse of a drummer. I ended up being, I was like, listen, man, I loved him so much. I was just like, I'm just going to give you 3. Let's just take 3 months off. And, we had just got done recording drums for the EP. And I was like, why don't you take 3 months off? And in 3 months, you let me go. But I want to be straight up.
Right.
We're going home.
There you go.
So we're going to move on, So be prepared for what's coming with Rifft. It's going to be different.
Sweet.
Our drummer, we feel like we've kind of fleshed out the slower stuff as much as we can. The Doom riffage will still be a part of it, but it is going into our new drummer is a lot faster. He comes from much more of like a punk background.
Cool.
And we're taking it up a notch.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that. When Toomey first sent me over a link to the band, I was kind of like, because you know how it is whenever one of your buddies is like, hey man, check this band out, and you're like, okay, and then I put it in and I was like,
right.
Oh shit, okay, yeah, I'm all on board,
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, that's a genuine reaction, not just a you're on my podcast kind of thing.
We try to be a little bit original and at least entertaining. At least
I definitely enjoyed it because I expected something to be just like all blast, all growl, all death, and I'm getting a little sick of that,
As am I. It's like, it's not, I listen to a lot. I just listen to tons of it, man. I mean, I just tons of like death metal that I absolutely love. And when I'm into it, like the new, who was it? Suffocation record, if I'm not mistaken. Somebody doing that shit right is amazing and is always going to be amazing. But I just feel like when I try to do that, I am really just, it feels like a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy or something like that. So I'm just like, let's just not. Let's do our own thing. Let's do this weird, sludgy Beach Boys thing.
Totally understand. Yeah. Well, it's working for you, man. So that's awesome.
I appreciate it, guys.
So hey, thanks for coming on, man. Thanks for taking some time out on a Sunday.
Yeah, no doubt. Thanks for having me on here, fellas.